Very promising. My hope for that, and this picks up on the other part of Jessica's question, is as a historian, right? What do I take from our past that gives me some hope that there could be a different kind of future? And it is, while at the same time recognizing, the stories of colonialism, indigenous dispossession, enslavement, white supremacy that have organized opportunity over 4 centuries here in this state. To also be able to say, let's look at our history and find the people who envisioned other kinds of futures. So whether it is free people of color in this state, as Keith mentioned, who organized incredibly effective political organizations that provided modes of cultural support, of economic support, and also of political power, this might be a place to look. Jessica joked about, Rhode Island and the ratification. But actually, what if we looked seriously at the anti-federalists in Rhode Island, right? The people who said, this centralization and taking away power over making money from the states and lodging it in a centralized government that we don't control, this is really bad, folks, right? And so it's been very easy to say, oh, those people were antiquated, backwards looking, they didn't understand the future, they were anti-modern. If you read these people and take them seriously and look at their experience in the 1780s as they are using the power of the state to change the laws about what constitutes money in ways that will help the majority of people at the expense of the few people at the top of society, right? If you say, let's take that discourse seriously, you can say, here are some people who saw with very clear eyes what capital, what the federal government, what control over money meant or did not mean, where there could be other kinds of economic sovereignty. And you can just sort of run this through, right? The strikers in Pawtucket in the early 1820s, dare I say the Dorites, right, who envisioned a reorganization of the state of Rhode Island in the 1830s, culminating in the early 1840s. And even as their movement went off the rails in many ways by virtue of some very poor made decisions around white supremacy and their effort to make the franchise limited to white people to the detriment of their cause, nonetheless, they had a vision of, and certainly Dorr himself, who wanted to reject the white supremacy plank of his people's constitution, said, look, the system ain't working. We are a state in which we do not have real representation because apportionment in the state, it was based on the 17th century map as opposed to the map we have now. We are not a state in which the majority even of adult white men have the right to vote. We should try to change that. And they spoke eloquently about the power of people, of the majority, to envision different kinds of futures. And I think we can go back through this past, and this may be a resource for us in ways that doesn't come from erasing or overlooking or downplaying all of the horrors that have been drawn attention to, but that gives us some sense that people have time and time again in this state seen different ways of doing things. And I'll just sort of reflect on one other thing, which is sort of the ways in which many of these movements have been interracial or multiracial. And I think something that comes up in my research in South Kingstown is the sort of founding charter of the South Kingstown Anti-Slavery Society in 1837, where a group of white and black Rhode Islanders wrote a declaration that said not only is slavery wrong and slavery needs to be ended immediately, but that God created humanity of one blood, and as a result, we are all in the same boat, we are all the same people, and the laws of this nation are making it incredibly hard for people of African ancestry to survive, to have citizenship rights, to fulfill their economic possibilities, and racism has to be overturned at the same time that we contest slavery. And you read that and think what it meant in 1837 to sign your name to that document in a small place like South Kingstown, Rhode Island. And you think, we can do that. We can find the courage to envision different kinds of futures. And I'd like to say that 250 years from now, someone will say they had the courage. That would be really nice.